Dr. Park Jina carefully floated through the metallic corridors of the starship New Seoul, her boots making soft magnetic clicks against the floor. The ship was massive, stretching nearly 2 kilometers from bow to stern, with gleaming white hull plating that reflected the distant stars. Through the viewing ports, she could see the swirling colors of the Andromeda Nebula painting the darkness in shades of purple and gold. Tonight was their 5th wedding anniversary, and Gina had planned something special for her husband, Captain Lee Minho. She clutched a small wrapped gift in her hands, a crystalline memory cube containing their favorite moments together. From their first meeting at the Seoul Space Academy to their wedding ceremony on the observation deck of Mars Station, the New Seoul was humanity's most advanced deep space research vessel, equipped with quantum drives that could fold space-time and travel between star systems in days rather than years. They were currently stationed at the edge of known space, where Earth's influence ended and the mysterious outer galaxy began. Strange alien signals had been detected from this region, and their mission was to investigate and make peaceful contact with whatever civilizations might exist out here. Gina made her way to the command section, passing through the hydroponics. They where Earth vegetables grew under artificial sunlight. The ship's crew of 300 people lived like a small city among the stars, complete with recreation areas, laboratories, and living quarters that felt almost like home. But tonight, the corridors seemed emptier than usual. She slipped into the elevator that would take her to Deck 7, where Minho's private command pod was located. The elevator hummed silently as it climbed through the ship's levels, past the engineering sections where the fusion reactors powered their journey through space, past the medical bays where Dr. Kim Soo-jin treated everything from space sickness to alien parasites they sometimes encountered. The command pod was Minho's sanctuary, a small room attached to the main bridge where he could review classified reports and make important decisions with her. At interruption, Gina knew he always came here at exactly 10 p.m. ship time to go over the day's activities. She had maybe 5 minutes to hide and prepare her surprise. The pod's door recognized her biometric signature and slid open with a soft hiss. Inside, holographic displays showed the ship's current position among the stars, with Earth appearing as a tiny blue dot impossibly far away. The room smelled faintly of the recycled air that kept them all alive in the vacuum of space. Jina crouched behind Minho's desk, her heart beating fast with excitement. Through the pod's transparent aluminum windows, she could see the bridge crew working at their stations. Lieutenant Park Hyun-woo was monitoring communications, trying to decode the mysterious alien transmissions they had been picking up. The signals were unlike anything humanity had ever encountered, complex mathematical patterns that seemed almost like music. She remembered when they had first detected signs of intelligent life in this sector. The entire crew had been thrilled. Humanity had been alone in the universe for so long, spreading from Earth to Mars to the outer colonies, always wondering if there was anyone else out there. Now they knew there was, and they were the first humans to make contact. But lately, something had felt different about their mission. Minho had been working on grouse, holding private meetings with senior officers and receiving encrypted communications from Earth Command that he wouldn't discuss with her. When she asked about it, he would just smile and say it was routine administrative work. Outside the pod, she could see the stars wheeling slowly as the New Seoul adjusted its position. Somewhere out there were the alien civilizations they were meant to study. Some were friendly, like the tall, graceful Etherians who communicated through patterns of light. Others were more mysterious, like the machine beings from the Spiral Arm who built vast structures in space but never responded to human attempts at communication. Gina heard footsteps approaching in the corridor outside. She held her breath, trying not to smile too widely. This was going to be perfect. She imagined Minho's face when she jumped out to surprise him. How his serious expression would melt into that warm smile she had fallen in love with all those years ago. But as the footsteps got closer, she realized there were 2 sets of boots, not one. Her excitement dimmed slightly. Minho wasn't alone. Maybe he was bringing someone to show them something in his private files. She would have to wait for them to finish their business before revealing herself. The pod door opened and she heard Minho's familiar voice, but it sounded different, colder, more formal than she had ever heard him speak. "The data is secured on my personal drive," he said. "Command level encryption. Nobody else can access it." "Excellent," replied another voice. Gina froze. It was Admiral Kim Deho from Earth Command. But that was impossible. The Admiral was supposed to be back on Earth, coordinating the colonial expansion programs. What was he doing here, millions of light years from home? Gina pressed herself deeper into the shadows behind the desk, her anniversary surprise forgotten. Something was very wrong. Gina crouched behind the desk, her heart pounding so loud she was sure they could hear it. The holographic displays cast eerie blue shadows across the command pod as Admiral Kim Deho settled into a chair across from her husband. "Show me the latest results from the Kepler 442 incident," the Admiral said. His voice barely above a whisper. Minho's fingers danced across the control panel, and suddenly the air filled with 3-dimensional images. Gina could see them through the gaps in the desk. Medical charts, DNA sequences, and what looked like before and after photos of human subjects. Her stomach lurched as she recognized some of the faces the mining colony explosion killed. 47 people, Minho reported matter-of-factly. "But we managed to extract viable genetic material from 31 bodies before the rescue teams arrived." The Zephyrian DNA integration was particularly successful this time. Gina bit her lip to keep from gasping. She remembered the news reports about Kepler 442, a terrible accident where a solar flare had caused the mining equipment to explode. Families had mourned their loved ones. Memorial services had been held across the colonies, but according to what she was hearing, it hadn't been an accident at all. "The hybrid subjects from the previous batch are showing remarkable progress," Admiral Kim said, scrolling through the floating data. "Subject Alpha 7 can survive in the vacuum of space for 12 minutes without a suit. Subject Beta 12 lifted a transport shuttle with her bare hands, and Subject Gamma 3 hasn't needed food or sleep for 6 weeks. The images shifted, showing video footage of humans doing impossible things. A woman floating in the cold emptiness of space, her skin somehow protecting her from the deadly radiation and freezing temperatures. A man casually picking up a 20-ton cargo container like it was made of paper. Another person running at superhuman speed through a battlefield, dodging laser blasts from alien weapons. The Etherean DNA gives them enhanced speed and reflexes," Minho explained, pointing to genetic charts that looked like twisted rainbows. "The crystalline species DNA provides the strength modifications, and the Void Walker genetic material allows them to survive in environments that would kill normal humans instantly." Gina felt sick. She knew all those alien species. She had studied them, written research papers about their biology, even recommended that humanity establish peaceful relationships with them. The Etherians were gentle beings who loved art and music. The crystalline people were miners who had shared their technology freely with human colonies. The Void Walkers were mysterious, but had never shown any hostility toward humans. And now Earth was stealing their DNA to create super soldiers. "What about the Galactic Confederation?" Admiral Kim asked. "Any suspicion from the Council?" "None at all," Minho replied with what sounded like pride. "As far as they know, humans are just incredibly unlucky. We have more accidents than any other species in the galaxy. Mining disasters, ship explosions, colony failures, disease outbreaks. They think we're either cursed or incompetent. The Admiral chuckled, a cold sound that made Gina's skin crawl. Perfect. The bumbling human routine is working beautifully. They actually feel sorry for us. The Altarian ambassador even offered to send safety inspectors to help us prevent future accidents. Minho added. I politely declined, of course. Told him that human pride wouldn't allow us to accept charity. More images appeared in the holographic display. Gina saw files labeled with colony names she recognized. New Taipei, Bizen Station, the Seoul Mining Outpost, all places where terrible accidents had happened over the past few years. All places where people she knew had died. The beauty of the program is that nobody questions the casualties, Admiral Kim said, leaning back in his chair. We take volunteers from the most remote colonies. Tell them they're participating in a medical study to help humanity adapt to alien environments. Most of them die during the DNA integration process, but the ones who survive are becoming something beyond human. Minho finished, the next step in our revolution. Gina watched in horror as the display showed more test subjects. Some looked normal, but others had been changed in disturbing ways, glowing eyes, skin that seemed to shift colors. Limbs that moved in ways that shouldn't be possible. They weren't just creating super soldiers. They were creating monsters. The Confederation Council still believes we're a peaceful exploration species, the Admiral continued. They have no idea we're preparing for a war. War? Minho asked, against whom? The scans from the Outer Rim confirm it, Admiral Kim said. Grimly, the Devourers are real, and they're coming. Our long-range sensors detected their scout ships 3 months ago. They've already consumed 17 star systems in the Magellanic Clouds. Images of destroyed worlds appeared in the display, planets stripped bare. Their surfaces covered in strange metallic structures, space stations torn apart and rebuilt, into twisted geometric shapes, and everywhere, dark ships that looked like they were made of living shadow. The most advanced alien civilizations in the galaxy can't stop them, the Admiral explained. The Confederation's greatest warriors, their most powerful weapons, their most sophisticated defenses. Nothing works against the Devourers. They consume everything. Organic life, technology. Even the planets themselves. But our hybrids can fight them. Minho asked. Early tests suggest. Yes, the combination of human adaptability and alien genetics creates something the Devourers can't predict or counter. Our enhanced soldiers don't just survive encounters with them, they actually win. Gina realized she was trembling. Everything she thought she knew about humanity's place in the galaxy was wrong. They weren't peaceful explorers making friends with alien civilizations. They were secretly preparing for a war that the rest of the galaxy didn't even know was coming, and her husband was one of the people making it happen. 3 hours passed before Admiral Kim finally left the command pod. Gina remained hidden behind the desk, her mind reeling from everything she had heard. When the door sealed shut and she was alone with Minho, she slowly stood up, her legs shaking from crouching for so long. Gina. Minho spun around, his face going pale when he saw her. What are you doing here? I came to surprise you for our anniversary, she said, her voice barely a whisper. But instead, I learned that my husband is a monster. Minho's shoulders sagged. He looked older suddenly, like the weight of the galaxy was pressing down on him. How much did you hear? Everything. Tears ran down her cheeks. The fake accidents, the human experiments, the DNA harvesting. How could you do this? Minho, those were innocent people, families, children. You don't understand, he said, reaching for her, but she stepped back. There's so much more to this than what you heard tonight. More. Gina's voice rose. What more could there possibly be? You're killing our own people and turning them into freaks. Minho activated his personal terminal, and the command pod's walls came alive with classified files. Show me Project Guardian, he commanded. The holographic displays filled with images that made Gina's blood freeze, entire star systems reduced to twisted metal and dark energy. Planets cracked open like eggs, their cores consumed by massive machines that looked like mechanical spiders the size of moons, and everywhere, fleets of black ships that moved through space like living shadows. This is what's really happening in the galaxy. Minho said quietly, the Devourers have been systematically destroying civilizations for the past 5 years. They started in the Outer Rim, where nobody would notice. The Confederation Council doesn't even know they exist. That's impossible. Gina protested. We would have heard something. The news networks, the diplomatic channels. The Devourers don't leave survivors, Minho explained. When they attack a world, they consume everything, every person, every building, every scrap of technology. Then they use the raw materials to build more of themselves. There's nobody left to send distress calls. New images appeared showing the aftermath of Devour attacks. Gina recognized some of the star systems, places she had studied in xenobiology school, the beautiful crystalline cities of Altair Prime. Now nothing, art geometric scrap metal, the floating garden worlds of the vegan system, stripped bare and converted into factory platforms. The only reason we know about them is because of our deep space monitoring stations. Minho continued. We've been tracking their movements for 3 years. They're working their way toward the inner galaxy, consuming everything in their path. Why? Haven't you told the Confederation? Gina demanded. They have fleets, armies, weapons technology far more advanced than ours. Minho pulled up combat footage that made Gina gasp. Massive alien battleships, each 1 kilometer long and bristling, with energy weapons, engaging the Dark Devourer fleets. The battle was completely one-sided. The alien ships' weapons passed harmlessly through the Devourers, while return fire tore the Confederation vessels apart like paper. We tried working with them, Minho said sadly. Secretly provided intelligence about Devourer movements. The Confederation sent their best fleets to intercept. The result: complete annihilation. 12,000 alien warriors died, and they didn't destroy a single Devour ship. But the hybrids can fight them, Gina asked, though she was afraid too. Hear the answer. Watch this. Minho activated another file labeled Operation Phoenix. Classified test. The display showed a small human team infiltrating a Devourer facility on a dead world. There were only 6 soldiers, but they moved with impossible speed and strength. One woman punched through solid metal walls. A man absorbed direct energy blasts and kept fighting. Another soldier seemed to phase through Devourer weapons like a ghost. Subject Alpha 7 has Void Walker D, an A that lets her exist partially outside normal space, Minho explained as they watched the woman phase through attacks. Subject Beta 12 has crystalline genetics that make her nearly indestructible. Subject Gamma 3 has Etherian modifications that allow him to process pure energy. The human team systematically destroyed the Devourer facility from the inside, something that massive alien fleets couldn't accomplish from the outside. When they finished, they evacuated thousands of captured aliens who were being processed as raw materials. The Devourers are organic machines. Minho continued. They understand known alien biology and technology. But humans are different. We're chaotic, unpredictable. And when we combine our adaptability with alien DNA, we become something they can't analyze or counter. So you decided to sacrifice innocent colonists? Gina's anger was returning. We only use volunteers, Minho said firmly. people from colonies that are already doomed. The Devourer's path of destruction will reach the inner systems within 2 years, every human. Colony on the Outer Rim will be consumed regardless. But if we can create enough enhanced soldiers from willing volunteers, Gina laughed bitterly. You told me yourself that most of them die during the process. 60% survival rate now, Minho corrected. It was only 20% when we started. Dr. Chen's improvements have saved hundreds of lives. More files appeared showing successful hybrid soldiers. Unlike the monstrous experiments she had seen earlier, these people looked mostly human, enhanced, but still recognizable as the species she belonged to. Every person who volunteers knows the risks, Minho said. They also know that if they succeed, they might be able to save billions of lives. Not just human lives, all organic. Life in the galaxy. The display showed recent footage of hybrid soldiers working alongside alien refugees, protecting evacuation ships from Devour's cuts. Humans and aliens fighting side by side against an enemy that threatened everything living. The Confederation doesn't know we're helping them, Minho admitted. They think they're just getting lucky lately, having more successful evacuations, but every time they escape. It's because our enhanced soldiers are there, invisible guardians, keeping the Devourers at bay. Gina stared at the evidence before her, everything she thought she knew about good and evil, right and wrong, was crumbling. The man she loved was doing terrible things, but he was doing them to save the galaxy from something even worse. How long have you known? She whispered. 2 years, Minho replied. Since I was promoted to captain and given security clearance. Every night I go to sleep knowing that we're fighting a war the rest of the galaxy doesn't even realize is happening, and if we lose, Minho gestured to the images of consumed worlds, then everything ends. Every human, every alien, every living thing in the galaxy becomes raw material for their machines. Gina wiped her tears and sat down heavily in the chair across from Minho. Show me everything. She said quietly, if I'm going to understand this nightmare, I need to see it all. Minho nodded and activated the ship's most classified database, computer, display archive Omega, full historical analysis. The command pod transformed into a three-dimensional map of the galaxy spanning thousands of years. Gina watched in fascination as civilizations rose and fell like waves across the stars. But there was a pattern. Every few millennia, entire sections of the galaxy would go dark. The Devourers aren't new. Minho explained as the display showed cycles of destruction going back millions of years. They're ancient. Older than any organic civilization we know of. They've been systematically harvesting the galaxy for so long that most species have forgotten they exist. But some remember, Gina said, noticing that certain alien archives contained fragmentary warnings about the dark tide and the consumer of worlds. The Etherians have legends about them. The crystalline people call them the hunger that walks between stars. Even the machine civilizations of the Spiral Realm have records of previous encounters, but they all thought the Devourers were myths, stories told to frighten children. The display zoomed in on recent Devour activity. Gina could see their pattern clearly now. They moved in vast spirals, consuming everything in their path before retreating to the empty spaces between galaxies to process their harvest. Then they would return centuries later to repeat the cycle. This time is different. Minho continued. They're not following the old pattern. Instead of harvesting and retreating, they're building permanent structures, converting entire star systems into factory complexes. They're preparing for something bigger. Gino realized with growing horror. Complete galactic consumption. Minho confirmed. Our analysts believe they've decided that organic life has become too numerous and chaotic to manage through periodic harvests. This time, They're going to take everything. New images appeared showing the true scope of Devourer construction. Dyson spheres round entire stars, providing unlimited energy. Massive shipyards in the void between systems, producing fleets of planet-killer vessels, and at the center of it all, something that made Gina's mind struggle to comprehend its scale. The core engine, Minho said grimly. A machine the size of a small moon that seems to be coordinating all Devourer activity. Our long-range sensors can barely detect it, but the energy readings are off the charts. What does it do? We're not sure. But our xenoarchaeologists found references to it in ruins from the last major extinction event. 65 million years ago, the same time period when the dinosaurs died on Earth. Gina felt a chill run down her spine. They've done this before, many times, and every time. Organic life survived only because they were too primitive to be worth completely destroying. But now, the display showed the current state of galactic civilization. Thousands of species, billions of worlds, technology advanced enough to travel between stars. Now, we're worth their full attention. Gina finished. Minho activated another file showing recent hybrid combat operations. This is why the enhanced soldiers are so important. Watch carefully. The footage showed a hybrid team infiltrating a Devourer command ship. As they moved through the metallic corridors, Gina noticed something strange. The ship's defenses weren't reacting to them. The hybrids aren't just stronger or faster. Minho explained. The alien DNA integration does something to their neural patterns. The Devourer's sensors can't properly identify them as threats. They're invisible to the machines. More than that, watch this. The display showed hybrid soldier Park Sun-ho placing his hands on a Devourer control panel. Instead of triggering security measures, the panel began responding to his commands. Lights flickered, systems shut down, and entire sections of the ship went offline. How is that possible? Gina asked in amazement. We think the Devourers use organic neural networks to control their technology. Minho replied. Brains they've harvested from conquered species, wired into their machines as biological computers. But human brains are different, chaotic, unpredictable. When enhanced with alien DNA, they become something the Devourer's programming can't handle. So our people can actually hack their systems. Better than that, they can crop them, turn Devourer technology against itself. The footage continued, showing how hybrid soldiers could cause massive machine malfunctions just by interfacing with Devourer systems. Factory ships began producing defective units. Weapon platforms fired on their own fleets. Communication networks broadcast random noise instead of tactical data. This is why the aliens can't fight them effectively. Gina realized their technology is too logical, too predictable. The Devourers have had millions of years to study and counter every possible alien response. Exactly. But humans are relatively new to the galactic stage. The Devourers don't have extensive data on our neural patterns, and when we modify ourselves with alien DNA, we become something genuinely unprecedented. New files appeared showing successful hybrid operations across the galaxy, evacuation missions where thousands of aliens were saved from Devourer processing centers, sabotage operations that destroyed entire factory complexes, intelligence gathering that revealed Devourer strategic plans. The Confederation doesn't know we're doing this, Gina asked. They can't know, Minho said sadly. If they discovered that we were conducting illegal genetic experiments on our own people, they would try to stop us, and without the hybrid program, the galaxy dies, Gina finished. Within 5 years, according to our projections, the Devourers are moving faster now. They've accelerated their timeline. The display showed current Devourer positions throughout the galaxy. They were closing in on the inner systems from multiple directions, like a vast net tightening around all organic life. "How many hybrids do we have?" Gina asked. 237 active soldiers, another 400 in training. It's not enough. What would be enough? Minho was quiet for a long moment. Our strategists estimate we need at least 10,000 enhanced soldiers to have a real chance of stopping them. That would require... He paused, unable to finish the sentence. "Thousands more volunteers," Gina said quietly. "Thousands more people willing to die for a 60% chance of becoming something that might save the galaxy. The alternative is extinction," Minho said simply. "Not just for humanity, but for everything. Every alien child, every beautiful world, every piece of art or music or literature that organic life has ever created. All of it consumed and converted into raw materials for their machines." Gina looked at the evidence surrounding her. Her husband wasn't a monster. He was a man carrying an impossible burden. The weight of an entire galaxy's survival rested on decisions that would horrify any normal person. "There has to be another way," she whispered, "if you can think of one." "I'm listening," Minho replied. "Because every night I lie awake trying to find an alternative that doesn't involve sacrificing our own people. And every morning I wake up knowing that we're running out of time." Outside the command pod's windows, the stars seemed different now. No longer distant points of light representing adventure and discovery, but potential battlefields in a war that most of the galaxy didn't even know was being fought. 2 weeks after learning the truth, Gina was still wrestling with her decision when the alarms began screaming throughout the new Sol. Red emergency lights paved the corridors as the ship's crew rushed to battle stations. Through the command pod's windows, she could see something that made her blood freeze. Massive dark shapes were emerging from hyperspace round their position. Devourer ships, each 1 kilometer long and covered in twisted metal spikes that pulsed with sickly green energy. Their hulls seemed to absorb light itself, creating holes in the starfield like living shadows, lands to combat stations. Minho's voice echoed through the ship's communication system. "This is not a drill." The new Sol's weapon systems came online, but Gina knew they would be useless. She had seen the classified footage of what happened when conventional weapons met Devourer technology. The energy beams would pass harmlessly through their hulls, while return fire would tear the human ship apart in seconds. "Captain, we're receiving a transmission from the lead Devourer vessel," Lieutenant Park Hyun-woo reported from the bridge. "Put it through," Minho ordered. The main screen filled with an image that was both beautiful and terrifying. A humanoid figure made of living metal, its features constantly shifting and reforming. When it spoke, its voice sounded like 1,000 different species speaking in unison. "Human vessel. You will surrender your biological materials for processing. Resistance will only delay the inevitable conversion. This is Captain Lee Minho of the Earth vessel New Sol." Minho replied, his voice steady despite the impossible odds. "We do not surrender." The Devourer's metallic face twisted into what might have been a smile. "Your species has been classified as suitable for integration. Your neural patterns show promise for organic computing applications. Submit now, and your transformation will be swift." "Never," Minho said, cutting the transmission. Gina watched through the pod's windows as smaller Devourer ships began surrounding the new Sol like mechanical vultures. But something was wrong with the picture. These weren't the same ships she had seen in the classify files. These were older, more primitive versions. "Minho," she said suddenly, "look at their formation. It's exactly like the tactical simulations from the hybrid training programs." Minho studied the enemy positions, and his eyes widened. "You're right. They're following predicted patterns. This isn't a random encounter. It's a test scenario." Before either of them could say more, space round the Devourer fleet began to shimmer. 6 human transport ships materialized from stealth mode, their hulls bearing the insignia of the hybrid special forces. From each ship, small boarding pods launched toward the enemy vessels. The enhanced soldiers, Gina breathed. They were already here, waiting. The battle that followed was unlike anything she had ever imagined. The hybrid soldiers moved through space without protective suits, their modified bodies allowing them to survive in the vacuum. She watched in amazement as they punched through Devourer hull plating with their bare hands and disappeared inside the enemy ships. Within minutes, the massive Devourer vessels began malfunctioning. Lights flickered, weapon systems fired randomly, and their perfect formations dissolved into chaos. The hybrids were doing exactly what Minho had shown her in the classified footage, corrupting the machines from within. "Gina, we need you," Minho said urgently. Pulling up tactical displays, the medical bay is reporting severe neural feedback in 2 of the hybrid soldiers. Your xenobiology expertise could save their lives. This was the moment. Gina could refuse. To help maintain her moral stance against the hybrid program and let the enhanced soldiers die. Or she could join the conspiracy that had horrified her just weeks ago. She looked out at the Devourer ships, imagining the billions of organic beings who had been consumed to build them. Then she thought about her colleagues throughout the galaxy, alien scientists she had worked with, friends she had made during diplomatic missions, entire civilizations that would be destroyed if humanity failed. "Show me the way to the medical bay," she said. The next few hours were a blur of emergency surgery and genetic stabilization procedures. Gina found herself working alongside Dr. Kim Sujin to save hybrid soldiers whose DNA was literally tearing itself apart under combat stress. Her knowledge of alien biology proved crucial in understanding how the various genetic modifications interacted with human neural systems. "The Etherian components are causing cascade failures," she explained, as she worked on Soldier Lee Dongwook. "But if we introduce crystalline DNA stabilizers at the cellular level, that's brilliant," Dr. Kim said, implementing Gina's suggestions. "The survival rate for a neural integration could increase to 80% with these modifications." As the medical crisis stabilized, Gina realized she had crossed a line she could never step back over. She was no longer an observer of the hybrid program. She was a participant. 3 days later, the Nuso rendezvoused with a massive alien fleet. Confederation vessels from dozens of species surrounded the human ship, their weapons powered, but not yet targeted. Admiral Kim Daeho's voice came over the communication system. "This is Admiral Kim of Earth Command, requesting permission to address the Confederation Council under emergency protocols." The response came from Ambassador Velter of the Etherian delegation. "Human Admiral, you will explain why your species has been conducting illegal genetic experiments and hiding military operations from the Council." Gina felt her heart sink. Somehow, the Confederation had discovered the truth about the hybrid program. But instead of panic, she saw determination on Minho's face. "All human vessels." "This is Admiral Kim. Execute Operation Revelation across the fleet." Human ships began broadcasting the classified files that Gina had seen weeks ago. Images of Devourer attacks, footage of consumed worlds. Evidence of the ancient machine intelligence that threatened all organic life. The alien delegates fell silent as they witnessed the scope of the threat their species faced. For 3 years, humanity has been fighting a shadow war to protect the galaxy, Admiral Kim announced. "We have sacrificed our own people, conducted horrific experiments, and carried the burden of this knowledge alone because we knew that conventional methods could not stop the Devourers." The display showed recent footage of hybrid soldiers successfully destroying Devourer facilities and rescuing alien civilians, dozens of beings from dozens of species, saved by the enhanced humans that the Confederation now viewed with suspicion. "We are not asking for forgiveness," the Admiral continued. "We are asking for your help. The Devourers are accelerating their timeline. Within months, they will begin the final phase of galactic consumption. Our hybrid soldiers have proven they can fight these machines, but we need volunteers from every species to create a truly effective defense force." Ambassador Velta-S' response came after a long pause. "You are asking us to allow our people to undergo the same genetic modifications that you have inflicted on your own species. We are asking you to help us save the galaxy," Minho said, joining the transmission. "The choice is simple. Adapt and fight, or remain pure and die." The silence stretched for what felt like hours. Then, slowly, ships from the alien fleet began moving into formation alongside the human vessels. The Etherean ambassador's voice came through clearly. "The Etherean Republic offers 1,000 volunteers for the enhancement program. We will not let organic life end while we watch from the sidelines. Other species quickly." Followed the Crystalline. Confederacy offered their strongest warriors. The Vegan Collective provided their most skilled technicians. Even the mysterious machine beings from the Spiral Arm agreed to share their technology. Gina found herself working alongside alien scientists, combining human adaptability with the unique biological advantages of dozens of species. The hybrid program that had begun as humanity's darkest secret became the galaxy's greatest hope. 6 months later, the first joint human-alien hybrid units were deployed against the Devourer core fleet. Gina watched from the bridge of the new soul as beings that were part human, part Etherean, part crystalline, and part machine tore through enemy defenses like they were made of paper. The war was far from over, but for the first time in years, the galaxy was fighting back as one unified force, and at the center of it all were humans. Chaotic, unpredictable, adaptable humans who had proven that sometimes the darkest choices could lead to the brightest. Hope Daughter's the last Devourer ship exploded in a cascade of green fire. Gina took Minho's hand and smiled. They had saved their marriage, their species, and their galaxy. The price had been terrible, but the alternative would have been extinction. Together, they watched the stars shine a little brighter, knowing that organic life would continue to flourish among them for millennia to come. The end.